This is the brand new OM Systems OM-5 Mark II just announced, and in this video we're going to be breaking down everything you need to know about this impressive brand new camera. Now I'm out today in Grand Teton National Park. I've had the last couple weeks to test out this brand new camera in Yellowstone and Grand Teton National Parks, and I've really been impressed. I'm excited to break down the specs of this camera with you today. Now let's start from the top down, some of the basic specs. First things first, we've got a 20 megapixel sensor in this thing. It's got 121 autofocus points. We've got 4K 30 frames per second video shooting and up to 30 frames a second in burst shooting, or if you want autofocus continuous with your burst shooting, you're gonna get 10 frames per second. So now this new OM-5 is very light, very compact, 418 grams, and this OM-5 Mark II versus the OM-5 Mark I features an improved grip, which feels really great in the hands. IP53 weatherproofing gives you dust, splash, and freeze proof, making this great when you bring it outside. Now another new feature in this model from the past model is that this one's got USB-C charging, which is great because it can charge with just about what every other device in the world these days is charging with, that USB-C port. Flip it open, you can charge it on the go. A newly redesigned menu makes it easier than ever before to tab through the menu. Even for someone who might be new to OM Systems cameras, this menu is very, very easy to find your way around in. So you've also got this computational photography button. This is one of the things that makes these OM System cameras really special. It allows you to do a lot of photography techniques that are complicated, that a lot of photographers are doing, but it allows you to do them in camera in a much easier way than doing them manually. So let's get in and talk about that computational photography, that CP button that's on top, because that is new to the OM-5 Mark II. You could do these in the original OM-5, but you didn't have this button on the top that allowed you to turn on or off those computational photography buttons so easily. Now the first option under the computational photography button is high resolution shot. It allows you to take a 50 megapixel photo handheld or a 70 megapixel photo on a tripod. This is a great feature to just add more megapixels for those shots where nothing's moving in the scene and you want to capture that image but at a higher megapixel rate. Maybe you want to print it later, maybe you want to upload it to the web, maybe you want to crop, whatever you want to do. This is really nice to be able to crop down later to have these extra megapixels. Now next we've got focus stacking. You've probably heard of focus stacking if you've been around long. If you haven't, it's basically where you take multiple images to get the whole scene in focus. A really popular technique for landscape photographers. You can do it in camera here with this computational photography button. Super easy to do and super simple to do, so you don't have to spend all your time in post-processing with some complicated softwares and learning how to do it in the field and all that stuff. So you can easily do it with just the one button here, this computational photography button. Next we've got live ND. Now this was one of my favorite features. I really liked not having to carry around ND filters. I use this one to shoot during the daytime. I shot a waterfall, I shot a geyser, things where I would want that ND filter, but I didn't have the right size ND filter for this lens, but the camera has you covered here with the live ND. You can choose which stop ND filter you want to use, and then you can go ahead and capture your scene in the field. It's so convenient, so easy to use. Love having that live ND feature. Next, we've got an option for HDR. It allows you to do the HDR in camera or in post. You can choose. This allows you to get more dynamic range in your scene. Perfect for landscapes, great for those sunsets, sunrises where the foreground might be dark, the sky is really bright. So that live HDR feature is really nice to use. Finally, you've got multiple exposure. This is something that I think a lot of people have fun playing around with, where you can kind of overlay one image with another one and create some really fun effects. Next, let's flip over to night photography. OM Systems has not left out the night photographers out there, because as you can see, or as maybe you can start to tell, this camera is kind of designed for the outdoor photographer, so night photography is a big part of that as well. Now in this camera, you've got two things. You've got starry sky autofocus and you've got night vision that are going to help you to take better night photos. Starry sky autofocus simply allows your camera to autofocus on the stars. If you've ever shot photos at night, you know it can be a huge pain to focus on the stars. It takes a lot of time, a lot of trial and error, guess and check. And with this camera, you simply just turn that mode on and your camera will easily focus on the stars. Now you pair that with night vision, that allows you to see your composition. Another frustrating thing about night photography, you're out there shooting and you can't see your foreground, so you have to guess and check, move the composition. It takes a lot of time, you waste a lot of time doing that, but with night vision on this camera turned on, you can actually see the foreground a lot better to compose your scene, something that'll save you time, it'll help you to create better compositions. Both of these features are great for night photographers. Now let's jump over to video. We've got 4K 30 frames a second, or we've got full HD and 120 frames a second. We've got OM log 400 raw recording. And in addition to that, we have 2 new recording modes. These modes are OM Cinema 1 and OM Cinema 2. They're both going to match OM log 400 in the highlights. However, number 1 is going to have natural midtones, vibrant yellows and deep blues, which can create a really relaxed and inviting feel, while number 2 is going to have natural midtones with cyan in the highlights and shadows with softer contrast. These video modes are great because they allow you to create cinematic looks in camera, super easy to use, really simple to use, and you can simply just choose between the modes to find which one works best for you. So let's cover some other features that we didn't already cover in the other sections here. One of the things that is really popular is called the supersonic wave filter. It vibrates the sensor like 30,000 times a second when you turn the camera on. This shakes any dust off so you don't have any dust spots on your lens. I've shot with this thing for a couple weeks and I haven't seen a single dust spot, so I think that it works pretty well. Now you've also got live composite, which makes it easier to see what your long exposure images are going to look like. Typically on a camera, you just open up the exposure, you take a few shots, and then you kind of just see what it looks like. On this camera, the live composite is really nice because it allows you to see exactly what's going on in the image, exactly how it's going to look as you extend that shutter speed. Really fun feature to play with and something that's going to help you to create better photos and see how things look before you press the shutter. Now the camera's got 6.5 stops of image stabilization, 7.5 with a compatible lens, and it also has a little box that allows you to see when you're doing a longer exposure handheld. You can kind of see how the stabilization is working. This is called the handheld assist, something that is really nice feedback so that you can shoot longer shutter speeds handheld. Now Pro Capture is another great feature that this camera has. This is perfect for things where there's fast moving action. So when you're holding the shutter button halfway down with Pro Capture on, it's always recording data, but it isn't actually writing it to the card. So then when you press the shutter button down, it'll capture, or it'll start recording the data from like a second before you started pressing the shutter down. So this is perfect so that you don't just barely miss the moment, because it's always gonna have you a second before you push the shutter down. It's not actually recording to the card until you press the shutter button down, but this is a really popular feature for people that are shooting any kind of fast moving action. Now finally, another OM camera exclusive that a lot of people like about these OM system cameras is you've got scene select. This is where you can select from many different scenes, tons of different options. This allows you to create better photos without having to go through all the trouble and the hassle. It kind of applies a little preset in camera and allows you to do some really fun things depending on what kind of photos you're trying to take. Okay, so after all that's said and done, who is this camera for? This is a fantastic little camera. You can see it is small. So if you are someone who values a compact and lightweight system, if space comes at a premium, if you're putting this in an airplane bag, if you're hiking with it where you don't want to carry a lot of weight, whatever it may be, small and compact, this is the camera for you. When you pair it with many of the OM system 1.8 primes, like this one here, I've got the 17mm on right now. It is only around 500 grams and it's super skinny. You can see this thing literally could fit in my pocket. Now additionally, this is also a great camera for those people who don't want to spend a lot of time learning all the techniques and doing all the post-processing. Because there's so many automated features and this computational photography button, it has never been easier to capture professional level photos without having to spend hours on the computer afterwards. This thing really makes it simple to capture those photos. So for that reason, if you are a creator who also values simplicity, you want things to be easy in the field, you don't want to spend time post-processing, this is also going to be a great camera for you. Now, I personally use this camera over the last couple of weeks to capture wildlife, photos of my friends, landscapes, night skies, video, all that. You can see this camera worked very, very well for all that. It really is the jack of all trades. You can do a lot with it, and it's so small you won't even realize that it's in your bag if you've got the right lenses on it. That is the OM Systems OM-5 Mark II. Brand new camera just came out. I think it's a great camera for those creators that value that space, value that simplicity. I had a lot of fun using it. If you guys want to pick this thing up, we'll throw a link down below where you can pick this up on Adorama. Otherwise, you guys are watching Adorama TV. My name's Austin James Jackson. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to check out my other videos here on the channel. And if you have questions about this camera, leave them down below in the comments and I'll get back to you shortly. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you guys next time.